Hey, Lee K once again, and thank you so much for all the subscriptions. And we keep growing day by day. The YouTube channel is Izwa. It's spelled as IZW That's IZW and it's all in caps. Look for it and learn some radio because that's exactly what we're concentrating on, Izwa. Very soon we'll be able to bring you some entertainment news and also interview some of your favorite radio presenters. But the first and foremost thing that we'd love to do on that channel is give a chance to prospective radio presenters, existing radio presenters, to ask questions, to refresh, and also to learn about radio. So far we've posted about 6 videos, and thank you so much for the views. Remember to subscribe. I promise you that we do have an A, B, C, right up to Z of the DNA of a radio presenter, and we are only going to do that when we get to 100 subscribers. 100 subscribers. Then we can get into the A, B, C's right up to Z of the DNA of a radio presenter. So we want to tackle one of the questions that has come through so far, and then talk about something that a lot of people have been asking. So far, the main questions have been to do with music rotation, and another one on concepts. So today we're going to touch on concepts. But first, before we do that, we'd like to say thank you very much to Alex Mashaire. And you asked, what age should I be to be able to join radio? Okay, so this is how I'll respond to this one. I think basically if you want to make it a profession, we're looking at the general ages. If you are 21, 23, right up to 60, you can be on radio. But here is my fair opinion. I feel that our next biggest radio personality could easily be 6 years old. Our next biggest radio presenter could easily be 80 years old or even 90. This is how I'm going to tackle the issue of concepts. So what am I saying when I say our next biggest radio presenter could be 6-year-old, or could be 90 years old? I feel that a lot of successful radio is based on the concepts. What concept are you bringing to the fore? So Alex, just once again to make sure that I've answered you, the general age that is expected of someone to be employed falls between 18 and 60. I think 60 is when most people are retiring. But in radio, you can actually have someone still at 60 and rocking radio. Whether they're doing talk radio, they're doing entertainment radio, it is possible. But my biggest response to you, Alex, is you can be of any age as long as you have the talent, you have the passion, and you go through the necessary training. But most importantly, you have to have the right concept that will sell. So what are we talking about when we talk about concepts, and them being the things that sell to audiences, to advertisers, and to anybody who's interested in radio? So concepts in this case includes the show or the element. It also includes the presenters. Yes, the most successful radio is based on successful concepts. When you come up with a concept, obviously you have to have a name for the concept. The name has to resonate with what you want it to be known as. So before we even talk about the name, you need to have intention. What is the intention? I would hasten to say, even if you don't write them down, your concepts and your choice of presenters has to have a mission, a vision, and they have to have certain values, just like the organizations that we have. Come up with a mission, a vision, and the values of your concept. Your radio station as well basically should have the same. What is the mission of your radio station? What is the mission of the radio presenter? What is the mission of the radio element or concept that you're going to introduce? So it all falls back on intentionality. Have an intention. Why are you placing this particular presenter on the morning show, and why are you pairing them with this particular presenter? Now, I'll give you a very good example. The 326 Express on Star FM is probably still one of the most listened to radio shows. It's 3 to 6 p.m. Right now it's being hosted by KVG. Right now she's hosting it with Ndini Babawako. The 326 Express has a history of having come onto radio in the year 2014. And initially that was Aura, Patisani, and myself. I came up with that concept. And where it came from is basically I told myself, how do we engage Zimbabwe on a new station and a station that is growing? How do we engage Zimbabwe? Then I asked myself, what makes up Zimbabwe? And I thought, obviously, male and female. I also then thought to myself, there is a very defined distinction between high density and low density, ghetto and the burbs, if you want. And I said, this basically for me describes Zimbabwe. How do we bring those two worlds together? And so we got Aura to represent the burbs, the low density, the salads, if you want. She was also then coming to represent the females. And then we said, who represents the ghetto? And who represents the males? And we got Patisani. Patisani also came on board because he speaks and understands about 6 languages. So we thought, let's introduce a different drive show as we take people home after their stress and everything. Let's talk about where females and males clash, where they meet, where they agree. And let's also bring in these two worlds, which sometimes seem like they complement each other, sometimes they also conflict each other. So that is how the 3 to 6 Express was born. So it was myself just getting into the middle of the arguments, getting into the middle of the elements that we had. And this is what also saw the birth of very popular slots like Combi Quest and Obody's Quest. We had a lot of quiz and competition in the middle. And this is how we grew the 3 to 6 Express. The 3 to 6 Express then took another twist, I think after a year or two of, or a year first of all, when Aura dropped out and we introduced Grace. But straight after that, we then introduced a whole new 3 to 6 Express, and this was Patsani, KVG, and Mox. But we saw that the pairing of the males was not really working. And so we then moved Mox to the TXO, and we left Patsani and KVG. And everybody who listens to radio knows how that took off. At the moment, yes, it has gone through some transitions as well, but it's still one of the hottest shows. What was the intention of the 3 to 6 Express then, and what was the intention when Patsani and KVG took over? It still remained with the male and female. This time we were not really concentrating on burb versus ghetto. We had taken on this vibrant young lady, KVG, who was raring to go, and they grew a chemistry, Patsani and KVG, that no one could beat at that moment. But now we have this new concept where Ndini Babawako has come through and the 3 to 6 Express is still flying. So what am I saying about concepts? Concepts creates the foundation of successful radio. Understand why you're doing it. Understand why you're placing the particular person. What traits, what characteristics are they bringing? Some of them, like Patsani, or even I could also make reference to Zoba, some of them are just that amazing and wow disruption in the ordinary radio that we mean. So we intentionally have someone who will say things that are not usually said on radio, just to bring up the controversy, bring out the conversations. So you have to understand why you are placing these people together, why you're particularly placing them at that time slot, and what you want them to achieve. Is it the numbers? Is it the audience that you want to grow? Are you trying to speak to a specific demographic? Are you trying to niche the show or the element? Are you trying to introduce something new? So you have to have an intention. And like I said, to all station managers or producers, when coming up with concepts, they have to be based on something. There has to be an intention. And I would hasten to say, write down the mission, the vision, and the values that show should stick to. Give it an identity. It should have an identity, an intention, and then you also have to brief your personalities on what they are supposed to achieve. I think when introducing a new concept, you have to hold their hand, if you're the superior, for at least 6 months. Sometimes that concept and the personalities then grow a life of their own. Once they start feeding off the audiences, the audience start depending on them, it grows a life of its own. But as the superior station manager, chief producer, or producer, whichever way your station is structured, you have to hold their hand. They have to know the intention of that show. So this is what I'll say about concepts, and I hope it has helped somebody. Thank you very much for watching.